Hello and welcome. I'm Pooja Sarkar, and you're watching Capital Ideas, our latest podcast from Forbes India. It is our endeavor to bring you conversations from the world of business, economics, finance, and everything else in between. We really hope that you enjoy these conversations. Please send us your feedback, write to us who you would like to have on this show, and of course, like, subscribe, and follow us. Yes, of course, please go down and like on that YouTube, be a part of our journey, and we really hope you love this show. Now, today's guest really needs no introduction. She was the first woman chairperson of CII in India, Shobana Kamineni, somebody who has really been a part of the Indian business circle for a long time. And of course, she's been building Apollo Hospital with her father and her sisters for some time now. Now, Shobana Kamineni I really thought she's the perfect person for today's show because we've been going through this entire pandemic situation for over the last 6 months. Apollo Hospitals is one of the major candidates in the healthcare sector, and a lot of these hospitals have been facing losses. We've seen that they have reinvented themselves in the form of telemedicines and, of course, the rise of this entire consolidation in the pharmacy space. And Apollo Hospitals, which has Apollo Pharmacy till some time back, Apollo Pharmacy has nearly 3,800 retail online channels. Now, I thought who better than Shobana to answer a lot of these questions on what is really happening in this entire healthcare space, and of course what is happening with Apollo Hospitals and what are the growth wheels for the company in the coming times. Thank you so much, Shobana, for being on our show. Thank you so much for being on Capital Ideas and welcome to our show. We just want to understand first, you are the CII leader, the women leader, the first women leader in India. How does that feel?
It was a long time ago, but by the way, I like your name, Capital Ideas. I really hope you get some good ones on this show. But so I was, I think that it's been 3 years now, but during that time, it seemed like such a different world. I traveled 400,000 kilometers that 1 year. And the thought of traveling during this time, it's just like its universe is apart right now. But I think that what we did, what I learned, what we established was all something that is lasting. And I really appreciate it. And I think that part of my life was very exciting.
And while growing up, because you come from the promoter family, did you think that you will get into the business? What really excited you when you were growing up that, I do want to get into the business, or do you want to get into other part of the business or not just the healthcare? What was in your mind while growing up? Or how difficult was it to get into the boardroom later?
So I tell you, we're actually, we helped build a business. We're part of the founder. So, that was my first job. When I was in college, I was kind of helping out. And so it just naturally got into it. And we learned as we went along. And by the time I was 26, 27, I had done the project management for 3 of our largest hospitals. So it was just, I was into it from day one. At 27, I presented our case study at Harvard, the Apollo case study. So I think it was a natural evolution of growing this business, of being truly part of the founding family. So I don't have the luxury of being my kids who grew up being in Apollo.
Okay. And tell me something. A lot of women say that, a lot of women, if you see the studies that are coming over the last few years, many women are moving out of the workforce, especially in urban India. And a lot of women also complain at leadership positions about mansplaining. Do you see it often? What is your advice to women?
It's 100% problem. During my year at CII as president, I did create a movement. CII itself has a very, very strong arm for women and the women network. But having said that, that all of us realize the potential of 50% of India's workforce coming in and contributing vis-a-vis the 17% that is there now and which has declined actually. So, so I think that we understand the problem, we understand the potential, but how do we solve it? I would really, there are many answers. Many of them are not working, and many of them have actually, become worse because of the pandemic. I used to think that the pandemic was a perfect opportunity for women in the workplace because you didn't have the challenge of going to work. You could just work from home. But that's really not the case, because when people were cutting down jobs, actually the women's jobs were the most vulnerable. That's what went away. Jobs that women were traditionally doing, which they were doing at a workplace, a service job, or things that couldn't really be done remotely. Those went away, highly women oriented. Many others that when they were in the workplace, there was again pressure. So we're not seeing a real normal for women yet. We're still in the middle of a lot of churn. I would think that the governments, the state, the social enterprises and businesses should work a lot harder to make sure that there's real empowerment. One is because truly this pandemic has brought an opportunity of this entire digital world that you can be anywhere. And I think for those digital jobs, women are fantastic for collaboration and from being able to work from home and still manage a family. We're great multitaskers. So I do hope that this tide will turn.
True. Yeah, because we were working on a story on the same lines where I was reaching out to a lot of women who talked about women who've just had kids who've just moved out of the entire 6 months maternity leave period, but who've been just locked down, and how women have been forced to get out of workforce because they're not able to handle family plus work at the same time. And then even in normal course of work, we've seen a lot of women being handed out pink slips during the pandemic.
Yeah, there is some amount of unfairness in that. And I do hope the pandemic will, because I've seen lots of our executives when I'm on a Zoom call and their kids come across. It's a way of life. And as long as productivity doesn't suffer, and that's what I want to say, this is a generational shift. Women working is a generational shift. So I think that the more educated moms and parents there are out there, they will encourage and make it a normal for children to work. My girls didn't think twice, and my son, I think he would find it. He came to me and said, I would probably not be able to marry anyone who's not working too, because otherwise, that's a world where they look at, it is normal. So give it a generation. I think India has a huge opportunity in women coming into the workforce. So I continue to stress and emphasize on educating women. It starts from there.
True. Now, taking it towards the business, the entire Apollo Pharmacy transaction that has recently happened, where from the Apollo hospitals, the demerger that has happened, if you can take us through it, what are really the plans for the pharmacy business? What do you have to say about the pharmacy business?
So one is that I must tell you the truth that the pharmacy demerger was really because of compliance. The laws of India are such that the pharmacy, when it started, was just, we always looked at it as, hey, we're just a part of Apollo, which is patient care and the big thing. And suddenly it became materially significant. When you have 3,800 pharmacies and such a turnover and you're making profits, it became materially significant, at which time we said it's important because the rules of the country are such. So it took a long time because there are almost 15,000 permissions that are required to do such a task, in so many states, so many locations. It's not an easy task. Fortunately, we were able to manage it. It took over a year, and now it's the NCLT. Everything is really clear. The decks are clear. So what it's actually given us is the ability to have a great new company, a subsidiary that is focused so much on the potential of a space. And so into it, we said, why don't we add digital? And so now what we do is that we have probably India's finest omni for customer for digital health, spanning pharmacy, spanning teleconsults, insights on how a consumer's journey is, but really fundamentally anchored in close to $1 billion of pharmacy business.
True. So I wanted to understand recently if you would have also seen Amazon came and said we've also want to do pharmacy in India. And then there are these startups which are already there in the ecosystem, and now there are being talks about Reliance trying to acquire NetMeds. The transaction is there. So a lot of the big players, you were there, you have one of the largest pharmacy business in India. A lot of the big guys are now in the ecosystem. How is the competition going to pan out? How are you looking at it? And do you have any plans for listing the business and getting shareholder value there?
So India is such a large country that I do believe that there's space for many. And even today, by the way, everyone that you mentioned today, you add them up and they're still not equal to what Apollo Pharmacy is. So, which means that we're that far ahead of anybody in the competition. But I think that tomorrow there will be a couple of more players. So this is a field that India requires that, but India also requires us to protect the 600,000 independent pharmacies that are there in the small villages, that are there in your small localities. Those are your neighborhood stores. So I do think that there's a value not only of many of platforms like ours, large organized retail players, but also of the smaller individuals. So that is India. And I think that with 1.3 billion people who are not always so well, this is a place that people can actually survive. Currently, they will not thrive considering the business practices of giving 20% discount, 18. I mean, this is not a discount market. This is a value-led market. Because today what it is that India needs, one is that they need a reliable supplier. You need good quality medicines. Because the price in India, you cannot get medicines cheaper than India. And that is the fantastic thing about our country. Any medicine in the world is cheapest in India. So what we have to ensure is that we maintain the quality of the supply chain. So such things are way more important. And I do hope by having many of these players, that will really improve. The ecosystem will improve.
Sure. And are you looking to list Apollo Pharmacy going forward in the coming year?
We just went through this process. So I do think that we're very early in our growth phase. But all I want to say is that we're in a nice position because it's a profitable enterprise. It is a large enterprise. It doesn't need. It is not starved for capital. So we're not under pressure to not do what's right for the shareholders. And I think that's very important.
Sure. Wanted to understand in terms of, running such a large pharmacy business, there's so many vendors that one has to deal with. If you could talk about the challenges of running such a huge pharmacy business.
Yeah, retail is detail. There's every a store would probably have something like between 7,000 to 17,000 stock units of just simple FMCG, of the large, of the small, of the local variety. Because, in India, in one locality, they like some medicines. So that's the kind of expertise that we've built, that we've been able to tailor make our inventory based on a locality. And that's the beauty that, from the beginning, we've said, let us behave like a mom and pop, but we'll standardize the processes behind. And I think we've done that well. Yes, but I'm very, very fortunate to have a fantastic CEO and a team. All our people have been with us for, ever since the whole journey. Most of the people in Apollo, that's been their first job. So what they're driven by is a passion. So these guys, when it came to the pandemic, not one day did they stay back at home, and they said, no, this is our duty. So I love the fact that we have such committed. They really think that, as much as a doctor goes in and does a surgery, a person in Apollo Pharmacy who's giving a person a medicine believes that he's also saving a life. I think that's the critical, that we don't look at it as a job, but we look at it as a service and a passion. And maybe that's something that differentiates what this particular business is about.
Okay. And now coming to the Apollo 24/7, you started the whole telemedicine thing. If I'm not wrong, in February, is it before before India went into lockdown, you started the telemedicine practice. When did you decide that, you have to get onto the telemedicine bandwagon before anybody else enters, or you have to rewire your strategies?
So we started it more than a year ago, and we took McKinsey on board. We said it's a different McKinsey partnership. We need you to really take us through this, build a team, work on this. So we were in that journey for almost a year, and then we launched. So we had a product which was we had to have a solid product in place, and the service quality delivery. The pandemic, what it did is that it accelerated growth for sure. To be the fastest growing digital health network in this time required us, even with this lean team, we don't have too many people, but still we just put everything behind it. And of course, Apollo's, experience helped us. So we did, I think that if you think about timing, this is the most fortuitous thing that any business could have wished for. That not the terrible horror of the pandemic, but the fact that we were prepared, the fact that we could switch on for our patients. And I think that's important with this, that we could alleviate pain by having 24/7 available for them. And it's not just for patients, it's about the doctors. Look at them. They were stuck at home, no revenue. We could switch on 3,000 doctors in a matter of 40 days, 60 days. We switched on 3,000 doctors, and then they could get back to work. So the fact that we could get people, give people medicines when they needed, when there was lockdown in difficult areas, give them teleconsults when they were unwell. So I think that was great timing. So loving that journey.
And how many patients is Apollo 24/7 serving at this point?
We have close to 4 million people. But the interesting thing is we released a risk scan within 10 days of the lockdown, and we had 15 million people log on to it. So, and of course, Apollo itself has a cohort. We have 20 million customers that we have their health records and who have been with us. So I think that we have an opportunity to serve them also. So I think numbers are always there. How you do it is so much more important to us.
True. I was coming to that part. If you all are talking about telemedicine, right now the phrase is that a hospital is a den to death, because nobody wants to go to the hospital out of fear that, I might catch COVID. So everybody is now postponing their surgeries. All these elective surgeries, people are postponing them. People want to use the service of telemedicine. But how easy or difficult it is to do telemedicine?
So quickly, let me wear my Apollo hat. Apollo, please come back, because do not postpone. We're seeing people come in so critical, whether it's cancers that are not detected, whether it's heart problems postponed. Please do not postpone your health. Hospitals are safe. all hospitals have taken precautions and they will make sure they look after you. So that's my Apollo hat. But having said that, how easy is a telemedicine? Uh, our promise, and ours is, this is our promise. There are many, many sites out there. But what we said is, people want trust first. You don't want 100,000 doctors. So the two things people wanted was a trusted service, because if they're asking you, if they're paying, if they're asking you for something, you need to be able to give it. And the second is that you need it fast. If you're sick, you don't want to wait 2 days. So you need it. So that's what we did. We switched on. So what we gave is an Apollo doctor in 15 minutes, on top of which we put in international and national protocols, which make, the liability factor both for the doctor and for the patient, how the medical records, everything is done. That's the technology behind, and that is part of trust and safety. So I think that what we're establishing is the highest bar for making sure that telemedicine is of a top quality.
True. And coming to the fact about Apollo hospitals and the medical tourism is huge in India, and especially a lot of people come from states or from Europe. They come for treatments, and not only that much, a lot of people from the Northeast India actually travel down south to some of the branded hospitals to get their treatments done. Who are finding, even from Bangladesh, a lot of patients come from these countries to get their treatments done. How difficult is it, or when do you see them again starting to come back, and how are you treating your old patients?
So one is that, again, telemedicine has been a great boon because we've connected up. Our doctors are connected with our international patients, Africa, Bangladesh, Middle East, wherever they are. We've created a service that is actually trying to help them through this difficult time. The new patients are actually piling up, and I think that there's so much pent-up demand there that one experiment is going to take place from Africa, that it's an actual charter that comes in with patients. So I think we're going to see some of that take place, that we would be able to test them in their country, bring them here for treatment. So we'll have to find unusual ways, but that business is going to definitely take quite a bit of time before it comes back to its old, to its old levels, and that's a significant drop. But I do think that there's enough demand within local communities, and traveling within India will become slightly easier. So hospitals will get over the crisis.
So there's one question I really wanted to ask now that you're here. First being that a lot of people have this perception that hospitals are charging so much. The cost for corona medication is so high, but if you look at the numbers, hospitals are going through a massive losses, or they've seen their revenues come down. There was a report by ICRA which said that revenues will be down by 15-20%. There could be an EBITDA impact of nearly 60% for hospitals across the country. Are you seeing an impact on the business of Medicare?
So Pooja, one thing I'd like to say is that we don't support price gouging. This is not a time when people are sick that you should be able to overcharge them just because you're in losses. So, that could be somebody's economic reason, but it is not the reason for long-term players. So I think that the cautious, the responsible long-term players will not indulge in that. Having said that, some parts of COVID are super expensive, like people who turn bad, and you don't know how this disease plays out. If they get onto a ventilator, dialysis, all kinds of things, and then the associated problems later, post-COVID, all these are really nightmares. So let's not play that down. It is expensive, and there is a cost, but just believe that most hospitals are trying to be as transparent as possible to be able to take that, and the costs here way less. Just think of remdesivir. It's 4,800 rupees in India per dose. You need it for 5 days. In the US, each vial is close to $2,000 to $3,000. So that's the price differential, leave alone the ICU. So having said that, I would say that yes, hospitals are struggling because of vacancies and because of our national duty. 2,500 of our Apollo beds are being used for COVID patients, and it's not something that you can really recover costs from. And thankfully, we have Apollo 247 in pharmacy, so that's kind of like a shock absorber for us.
A lot of the people are talking about how prices of medicines will go up because the entire ban from China and increase in costs in APIs. What is your view on it?
Very little. Yeah, it will not significantly impact anyone because the prices itself are low. So even if that price goes up, so instead of spending 1,000 rupees, like a diabetic would typically spend between 1,000 to 3,000 rupees a month, most of these won't go up. I think that the price differential would probably be 5% in an overall budget. So it's not going to be that bad. But what we're looking at is it's a temporary phase, because in the government's Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is a time when we should have done, we should have been investing in APIs 10 years ago. This is a wake up call. Let us do it now, and then we will manufacture not only generics like we do for 60% of the world, but we will also do the whole cycle. So it's an opportunity that we should definitely move behind very fast, and it will be a long-term benefit for India.
Okay. And lastly, as part of Apollo Hospitals, what are the new areas of growth that you see? How do you, in the coming years, which are the wheels that are going to drive the business?
So we have several flywheels. We do think that one thing is that patients will be more focused on outcomes, and we would like to see that we work with a lot of insurance companies to make sure that we keep people healthy and not just take care of them when they're sick. So I think this life cycle management and disease management is going to become very, very important in the future. The second big shift that we're going to see is that hospitals will have to reinvent themselves, and many metrics will change. So when people say, "Oh, India has only one doctor for 1,800 people," you don't need that metric anymore. You can be so much more productive because there's telemedicine. So I think that the use of technology, the use of robotics, the use of AI will make hospitals and healthcare way, way more efficient. And Apollo is triple investing behind it, not only in the hospitals through robotics, but every bit of technology to make sure clinical decision support systems to everything. So I think that we're really focused on that. And the third interesting trend will be that healthcare can really move a lot out of hospitals. We can do more things from home. So we redesign hospitals to make sure that we bring in only the critical patients, and maybe many more things will be done at home, care delivered at home, online, offline care that we will invest more to give. And that's an interesting trend, because again, it lowers costs, it improves outcomes, and it just helps the whole economy and the system. And hopefully in doing so, we'll hire more women.
True. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am. It was so lovely to speak to you today.
Thank you, Pooja.
Take care. Bye.